if there's something we need to understand as humans in general, is that no matter how perfect we may think or feel we are, it is inevitable for us to have levels of imperfection within ourselves. And what I mean by this is that in this world, it's inevitable for us to go through suffering. It is inevitable for us to suffer. But why? It's simply because we are living in a flawed and an imperfect and in an unfair and fallen world. And if the world in itself is already in such a state, it is also inevitable for us as humans to be fallen. It is inevitable for us as humans to be unfair sometimes. It is inevitable for us as humans to fall short. It is inevitable for us as humans to make mistakes, to disappoint each other at the end of the day. But if you think about it, there's really nothing wrong with that, because the moment you actually allow yourself to allow the unfairness and the imperfection and the fallen state of this world to take control over you, you will end up not being who you actually are supposed to be in this world, especially in the eyes of God. And the imperfection that we have in this world is basically sin. What is sin? Sin is simply us rebelling against God. Sin is simply us falling short against the grace and the mercies of God. Sin is simply us um, doing what is not right and expected for us in the eyes of God. Because us as humans, sometimes we may think that if we do a certain thing, it is good in the eyes of God. But in reality, maybe God is saying that, no, you didn't do it how I wanted you to do it. And this all ties down to motives, heart posture, and intentions. If you want to know more about this, you can watch my previous videos about motives, intentions, and also heart posture. But we need to understand that at the end of the day, we just have to accept this fact. That is the best way of controlling how we struggle with a level of imperfection within us, or levels of imperfection within us. Because, like I said, yes, these imperfections is sin. We may be struggling with, not we like in general, but some of us may be struggling with lust, with greed, with pride, with jealousy, with um, anger, with comparison, with doubt, with anxiety, with worriness, with like even idolatry. And especially in today's day and age, idolatry is something that is very rampant. It's something that is very like vibrant in this world. And idolatry is simply us idolizing something or someone more than our relationship with God, more than our desire towards pursuing God. And idolatry in this day and age is very idolized in terms of social media because of the introduction of technology in this world, in the sense that some of us may tend to idolize the idea of social media more than our relationship with God. Like, for example, we may think that we need to be someone in social media in order for us to like feel validated or feel worthy of something. And that's not true, because already, as I mentioned as many times as possible, and I won't be afraid to continuously repeat this, we are already worthy in the eyes of God. We are already valuable in the eyes of God. But it's not because of us, but it's because of Jesus, because the blood of Jesus is already in us. That's what makes us worthy, and that's what makes us of value in the eyes of God. But social media tends us to put ourselves in a state of comparison, to put ourselves in a state of self reliance, where we think that we have to do something in order for us to be valuable, in order for us to be worthy. So you see, so like even idolatry even comes down to self righteousness. It comes down to you wanting to do things your own way, you wanting to take control of things in your own way. And this is something that social media has really influenced in this world, because there's nothing wrong with social media. The idea of social media is not bad, but what people put out there, it turns out to sometimes not be authentic, in the sense that people may put a performative version of themselves in social media, but kumbe behind the scenes, you may find that this person is actually very flawed. They may be struggling with something, and there's nothing wrong with that, because, like I said, It's human. It's the state of the world that we are in that is making us be flawed and struggle with some things. But if you tend to allow the flaws or the imperfections of this world and of yourself to take control of you, now that's something bad. But if you allow yourself to know how to control it, that is something good. And the best way of actually knowing how to control these certain levels of imperfection within us, these imperfections within us, or this sin we may be struggling and suffering within ourselves in us, is that we have to just accept the fallen state of this world. We have to accept that we are fallen. We have to accept that we are going to disappoint each other. We have to accept that we are going to let each other down. We have to accept that we are going to disappoint each other. I hope I haven't repeated that. Yeah. And the moment you actually now accept the fallen state of this world and your fallen nature in itself, it is going to help you to know how to be very forgiving, because forgiveness is something that is very, recommendable, because if you tend to have a forgiving heart, it makes you to let go. It makes you to grieve. It makes you to not allow people or allow life in itself to make you keep grudges, help make you hold grudges, make you build bitterness or resentment within yourself and especially other people. That's why Jesus really emphasized on us having a forgiving heart. Because if we forgive, we release. And then once we release, we leave it up to God. But if we do not forgive, we tend to want to hate on someone. We tend to want to control. Like our energy is so fixated on someone or even like life in general. That's why shame and guilt is something that us humans really tend to struggle with, and it really makes us to be very unforgiving towards people, towards God, and towards ourselves. That's why the moment you actually learn to accept the fact that you are fallen, the moment you actually learn to accept the fact that people are also fallen, the world is fallen, and you and people are fallen, like, yeah, like what I said, it just makes you to know how to forgive. It makes you to know how to walk in this love with unconditional love, knowing that people are going to disappoint you, people are going to let you down, people are going to misbehave. But if you understand the reason as to why that is so, like I said, because of the fallen state of this world, it will just help you to know how to live. It will help you to know how to be at peace, be content, and be abundant, especially within yourself. And it will actually teach you to not be victim. It will make you to not victimize yourself. It will make you to not live a life of being so victimized, where you victimize yourself, you victimize people, you victimize God, you just start blaming people, you start blaming yourself, you start blaming God. That's basically why forgiveness is very important, especially when we live in this unfair world. Un, an unfair world, yes. So the other thing that we need to understand is that the moment we actually learn to accept the state of this world and the state of ourselves and of other people, it's going to make us to know how to lower our expectations towards life and people. Lower our expectations in the sense that whenever someone falls short or whenever life falls short, it won't phase you. So like how you receive the expectation that is not met is what really counts. Because like I said, if you allow the fallen state of this world to make you expect something good out of it, not saying that there's nothing good out of it, but if you receive something that you did not expect in a bad way, it makes you victimize yourself. It makes you blame yourself. It makes you blame people and makes you blame God. But the moment you receive low expectations with gratitude, the moment you receive low expectations with wanting to learn what you should learn from that fallen expectation, that's what's going to help you grow. That's what's going to help you to develop a perspective within your mind on knowing how to actually live life. But also, whenever an expectation is met, sometimes we may tend to be prideful. So that should also so how we also receive an expectation really matters also. And even if an expectation is also exceeded, if it's like something we did not expect, also how we receive that, we should be very careful about it. So basically, lowering your expectations ties down to how you will receive an expectation that is met, an expectation that it isn't met, an expectation that is also exceeded. Another way of knowing how to control levels of imperfection within ourselves and within life in general is denial. You have to deny yourself in the sense that you have to accept the fact that you have no control over your life by yourself, and you only have control over this life with the help of God. Why? Because God in Himself is perfect. God in Himself isn't flawed. God in Himself is not fallen. It is us and the world that is. So if we tend to rely on the standards of God, if we tend to rely on the help, on the will, on the purpose of God, it will help us to know how to maneuver towards the imperfections within ourselves, within other people, and within life in general. Because at the end of the day, like I said, it is inevitable for us to often, as at times, disappoint each other, fall short of each other, and make mistakes. But if you are able to just build a wonderful relationship with God, who is perfect in Himself, His perfection outweighs your imperfections. And once that is so, it makes you gain a perspective, a mindset, and eyes that will be able to help you to know how to see how people move. Like, it makes you be very discerning. It makes you to be very wise. The right type of wise though. The wise, the wisdom that is not of selfishness, but of selflessness. So that's why the moment you just deny yourself, submit, surrender, accept that you don't got everything locked in, you don't know everything, that's what is really going to help you to know how to live in this world with its imperfections and with the people who are imperfect, even within yourself. So that's all I have for you today. I haven't said this in a long, but you know, like, comment, subscribe, especially on the types of imperfections you're having, the types of levels of imperfections you're having, and also just the type of sin you're struggling with. And yeah, all I can say is just accept this world for what it is. Accept yourself, accept people, accept that you will never have it all figured out. Accept that people are going to disappoint you, you will disappoint yourself, but never ever forget that God will never disappoint you, and God will never ever fail to come through for you. Bless.